Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome yourselves back to the never-ending series of wokeness destroying women's sports. It's a great time, right? And it's not tiresome whatsoever. No. Not at all. I don't know about you guys, but at the moment it kind of feels like this whole issue of men identifying as women and competing in the women's category is just in the headlines more than I can ever remember. And when you consider that the President of the United States of America signed an executive order barring men from women's sports and it's still going on, that is insane to think about. It seems like the woke left, the woke liberals, the woke activists are doubling down on this issue because to these very bright individuals, having men competing in women's sports, it is stunning and brave. Get out of it. But in today's episode, nonetheless, as you can all see, we're going to be talking about the controversy that has surrounded women's fencing recently. For those of you that don't know, at a USA fencing competition, Stephanie Turner took a knee and refused to compete against a trans fencer called Redmond Sullivan, and she ended up getting disqualified from the competition for not only standing up for herself, but truth, reality, common sense. But whilst we have heard from Stephanie Turner talking about this whole situation in different interviews, etc., we now have the trans fencer who has also come out and spoken about this whole story, and somehow, some way, they are playing the victim. I don't know why I'm surprised, because it is always the case with these woke activists. It's never their fault, it's everybody else's. Now, before we get into this article and we take a look at what was said, if you could, as always, just make sure to leave a like rating. It really helps out the video. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video, and let's get into it. Let's all feel sorry for another male athlete. What a joke. So as you guys can see, Rolling Stone, the very progressive outlet, have reported gender wars. My entire life is political. Trans fencer attacked by conservative outrage machine speaks out. Attacked by conservative outrage machine. Apparently now just stating the facts is attacking someone, and it is outrage. Right. But for more than a week, conservative news outlets and right-wing corners of social media have championed Stephanie Turner, and rightly so, a fencer who took a knee and removed her mask to forfeit a tournament duel against Redmond Sullivan, a transgender woman. Well, she shouldn't have to compete against this dude in the very first place. But most discourse around the incident in which Turner was disqualified by a USA fencing referee, what a total joke, with a black card for refusing to compete against an eligible opponent, has obscured important context. Sullivan was reluctant to speak to journalists amid the concocted uproar. What? He tells Rolling Stone as he was disheartened by inaccurate, unscientific, and hostile press. Unscientific. I can tell where this one's going. My entire life is political, he says, mentioning just how many articles Fox News has written about him and Turner, at least a dozen today, and that he is currently reading Manufacturing Consent by Edward S. Herman and Noam Chomsky, which famously argues that American mass media serve to disseminate propaganda. What has this all got to do with this whole issue? Absolutely nothing. People are just speaking up for women. People are just saying, no, this can't go on any longer. Men should not be competing in women's sports. It's really not that complicated. But according to Redmond Sullivan, there are a million things more important than to talk about a silly little fencing tournament in Maryland, let alone a specific bout between two people, neither of whom were going to win the event. Right, so basically what he's saying is no one should be talking about this because it's a silly little event, trying to minimize the whole thing, of course, and the two people involved weren't going to win. These people, man, I don't know what planet they're on. But days after Turner's performative exit, you gotta love the wording in this article, on March 30th from the annual Cherry Blossom Open Tournament at the University of Maryland, footage of the display went viral on social media. In the clip, Sullivan approaches Turner, thinking that she might be hurt before his opponent says she won't fence. In an interview with Fox News, Turner explained her actions while misgendering Sullivan. Oh no. This dude got misgendered. Who's actually doing the misgendering here? Because I don't think it's Stephanie Turner. Cry me a river. But Stephanie Turner went on to say, I looked at the ref and I said, I'm sorry, I cannot do this. I am a woman and this is a man and this is a women's tournament and I will not face this individual. What's wrong with what she just said there? It's facts. By that point, video of her protest had been shared by groups such as the Independent Council on Women's Sports, which advocates against trans women in sports. Well, that's just a lie, isn't it? Because they don't advocate against trans women in sports. They advocate against trans women in women's sports because these are men. You know, this whole narrative the mainstream media likes to put out of, oh, trans people are getting banned from sports, people don't want trans people in sports. It's a complete lie. People just want men in men's sports, women in women's sports. But J.K. Rowling has also spoken up about this whole issue, and according to Rolling Stone, she is known for her staunchly transphobic views. What has she said that is transphobic? I'll sit here and wait for my whole life because you won't find anything, but J.K. Rowling said, "What a heroine looks like." How deeply offensive. "I was bewildered, flabbergasted," even Sullivan says, of the moment when Turner refused to duel him in what he describes as a staged and unnecessary stunt recorded by at least 2 people present. Of course you're bewildered and flabbergasted because for you simply cannot understand that women don't want to do this. For you don't consider how other women feel in their own sports because for you, it is all about yourself. It is me syndrome. I can't believe a woman would do such a thing. Why is she refusing to compete against me when I shouldn't be here to begin with? But he recalls saying, "Bro, what?" when he heard Turner's remarks. "Nothing close to this has ever happened. Oh no, no one has ever had a problem with me fencing in a women's event," Sullivan says. She could have withdrawn herself from the tournament or talked to the organizers and said, "Hey, I don't want to fence this person." Yes, because she has to do what you tell her to do, right? She could have withdrawn herself from the tournament or talked to the organizers and said, "Hey, I do not want to fence this person," and seen if they could have reshuffled the pools. Yes, because she has to do what you want her to do. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I truly wish this article stopped right there, and I could ask you guys for your thoughts, but no, it goes on and it gets worse. As you can see, Republicans and far-right agitators, yes, people saying the truth and now far-right agitators, have spared no effort in demonizing the vanishingly tiny fraction of trans athletes among sporting associations around the world, even in games like disc golf and darts. It doesn't matter if there's a tiny fraction. It doesn't matter if there's 2, 3. There shouldn't be 1. Sullivan, of course, finds it absurd. "Darts, what trans advantage is there?" he asks. "You're throwing a tiny little thing at a board." He says he's been aware that he could be targeted the same way, and that after the aborted face-off with Turner, "I knew I was cooked." The arrogance here is off the charts. Sullivan had already attracted the attention of anti-trans groups in December when the faux feminist transphobia site Redux published a post about him winning a Women's Junior Olympics qualifier. Again, you know, was only competing with the men last year and has already won a Women's Junior Olympics qualifier. Sullivan says it's just a national tournament with a kind of different branding. He was friends with almost everyone in the tournament, he says, including the woman to whom he nearly lost to in the finals. On Fox News, Turner cited the Redux hit piece as the reason he'd known that Sullivan is trans. Oh no, people are finding out he's trans? What a disgrace. So just with this article, you can see the mindset of these trans athletes. You know, again, it's just all about them, how they feel. You know, to them, they are the victim, even though they're the ones causing all of these situations because they have decided to go ahead and compete in women's sports when they know as well they shouldn't really be there. And then as soon as people speak up and don't want to compete, they're the ones who aren't in the wrong. Everybody else is. I'm just tired of people playing the victim when they're the ones causing the problem. It's backwards, it doesn't make any sense, left is right, up is down, and clearly with this article, as you heard, common sense is very, very hard to find. If you have also enjoyed, once again, make sure to leave a like rating. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video, share this video, but until next time, it has been your host JD. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'm out. Peace. Oh yeah, and by the way, don't forget, if you speak up about this issue in any capacity, it is conservative outrage, you are far right, you are a far right agitator, please do not say anything bad about men competing in women's sports. That's what they want you to do. Total joke.